Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Kingsburg, the second edition. Let's check it out. Setup for the game is quite simple. What you're going to do is you're going to put your little round marker here, or season marker there. You're going to have a round marker there that goes 5 rounds, even though that's basically pointless. Each player is going to get a bag of little tokens. They're going to get 3 dice of their color. They are also going to have 3 markers, one for the score tracker, one for the shield tracker, and one to determine player order here. Now, you'll also shuffle a deck of cards who have this Roman numeral 1 through 5 through them, and you'll shuffle each individual deck, pick 1 from each deck, and then make your own stack here with the 1 on top and the 5 on the bottom. And of course, that will basically mark the end of the game, which is why this round marker is completely pointless. So anyway, how the game works is you have this little nifty little player tracker here that everyone will use. It even tells you what the emblems mean, so it's a nice little reference card as well. But here it just tells you what all the rounds are. Now I should mention that each player is also going to get one of these. They're going to put it near them. This is basically their city that they can build. On the back is a condensed version of, you can play with this too if you want to switch up the game a little bit. But anyway, you put this in front of you and then everyone is ready to play. Now how it works, and I'll just go in order here, you have the King's Favor. Now on the first round you won't do this, but for every round you will after. It says the player who owns the fewest buildings gains 1 bonus die. There are these white die here that you can use, and so the one with the fewest would get to add a white die to his roll dice for that round. He can use that. That's very powerful in the game, and it's basically a catch-up mechanism for someone who's basically behind in building buildings. Now, if there's a tie, then no one gets that reward. After that, we go to spring. So we push our marker to the spring, and now here's the meat of the game. What you're going to do is you're going to roll dice, set up turn order, influence the king's advisors, and receive advisor rewards and construct buildings. So basically what you're doing, determining the order here is the person who has the fewest victory points. So let's just say that red has the fewest victory points. Red would go first, then blue. Then both, all players, there'd be more players than 2, would roll their die here. And how it would work, as you see, they have 3 6-sided die that they can play out. Now, you can start in player order putting out 1, 2, or all 3 die in these areas. Now this would go back and forth in player order. So for instance, maybe I picked a 5 and a 6. I picked an 11 there, and then this player picked a 6, and then I picked a 4, and then blue player picked a 9, maybe something like that. But all players would place their die here. Now, one of the things you cannot do is you can't place a die where another player has already placed. That is not allowed. So you'd have to place it somewhere else. Now, let me tell you real quickly what each one of these little things do. The Jester gives you 1 victory point. Number 2 gives you gold. This gives you wood. This gives you your choice of gold or wood. This gives you a shield, a temporary shield you can use to defend yourself against the bad guys who are attacking at the end of the round. 6 lets you trade any resource for any of the other 2 resources. 7 gives you a resource of your choice and gives you this little die marker here. And this die marker can basically upgrade any die. So for instance, this is a 5. No, it's not. It's a 7 now. I just place on top of the die, and then I can use number 7. You can save these up too and really build up your count to get some of these top ones here that are really nice. Anyway, 8 is 2 gold. 9 gets your choice of any 2 of these resources. 10 gives you 2 temporary shields, and that crystal ball says you get to look under here and see who the villain is. So every round you're going to reveal these villains, but if you have a crystal ball, you can look ahead. Now you see, villains will be anywhere between 2 and 4 points there, or 3 and 5, or 4 and 6, or 7 and 9. They get powerful as the round goes on. But if you have the crystal ball, you could basically secretly look at this and say, ooh, okay, so here it is, it's going to be zombies. Now zombies are a 4. If we have to have at least shields of a 4 to fend off the zombies, if we do that, we don't get any rewards. But if we beat that number, we're going to get 1 victory point. If we don't have that number, we're going to lose 2 victory points. So it's basically a way to give you, that crystal ball is a way to give you a heads up on this instead of waiting till the end and being surprised. 11 lets you have your choice of any one of these rewards here for material. 12 gives you 2 resources of your choice and gives you one of these 2 markers. 3 gives you 3 stone. 14 gives you, if you lose 1 victory point, you can gain 3 resources of whatever you want. 15 gives you 1 of each resource. 16 gives you 4 gold. 17 gives you 2 resources of your choice, 3 victory points, and that crystal ball to look underneath that card. And then 18 gives you 1 of each and a temporary shield. Okay, so players will be playing cards, modifying their roles with these little tokens there, and playing out, getting those rewards. And once that's all done, then we go to the construct buildings phase. Now, this is where you're going to look and see of what all material is needed to build these buildings. Now, you have to build in this order. Any column here you can build on first. After that, you have to build subsequently out. As you see, these arrows here say, hey, I can't build these stables until I have a palisade. Okay, so I have to build the palisade, then the stables, then I can build the stone wall, and then I can build the fortress. And you get these rewards. Now, these buildings can give you extra points, extra permanent defense, because at the end of every round, your defense will go back to 0 unless you have some permanent defense set up here. These will also give you maybe an extra die to roll, or it'll generate you resources, or whatever. It'll let you get victory points. They let you do different things depending on which track you go on. So anyway, after everyone's built something, then we go to the third stage. Now in the third stage is the King's Reward. The player who owns the most buildings will get a victory point. Now again, if it's a tie, then no one gets it, but if someone's taken the lead on buildings, they will get a victory point. After that, then we go to summer, where basically we're going to repeat the same steps that we did in the spring. So everyone rolls, places out their die, gets those rewards, and then builds, buildings on their player mat. After that, it then goes to 5, where now we have to find out who is the King's Envoy. That's the person who owns the fewest amount of buildings. Again, in a tie, no one gets it. But if someone did, this is the King's Envoy. It lets you do 2 things. You'll get to build an additional building at the end of a production phase if you want to. But the real kicker and the real awesome thing about it is the Envoy allows you to play on a car, on a space that's already been played by another player. So I'm red player, and man, I really wanted that, because I had a 4-2 I wanted to use. So I used my 4, but the King's Envoy lets me share the same space as another player. So that's what the King's Envoy can do. Really good stuff. Now, after that, we move to fall and do the same thing as we did before, basically rolling the die, collecting rewards, and building more buildings. From there, we go to 7, which is recruit. Now, we're both at 2, and we know we have to have 2 through 4 on that bad guy. In fact, someone found out that's a zombie, and they definitely want to get to 4. So what they can do is they can exchange 2 of any resource to get 1 temporary shield. Now, after that, we move into winter, and winter is bad. First off, we're going to roll for the King's reinforcements. What we're going to do is take one of these white die and roll them, and then that's how many temporary armies we have that the king sent us. So he sent us 2. So we each move up 1, 2, 1, 2. After that, we reveal the enemy card and resolve the battle for each player, and then reset the soldier track. So for instance, I revealed it. It is zombies. Blue has 5, so it beat it. It gets 1 victory point. Red tied it. So it's tied, that's good, but he doesn't get the victory point because he had to have a bigger number than 4. But of course, he didn't suffer the -2 victory points, so he should be happy. So this gets discarded over here, and of course, number 2 is ready to go. And now we would reset the defense track. So if no one had any permanent defense built to help them out, they would all go back to 0 again. And as you see, this is going to get harder and harder each round you go as the villains and bad guys get bigger. Now, of course, you move the worthless round tracker there, move this stage marker to 1, reset this, and then you'd start all over again. Now, the game ends after 5 rounds, and whoever has the most points wins. rounds. Now, this is the new second edition, which comes with a billion extra things you can use in the game, and they are all excellent. Let me talk about a few of them. First off, you have these little markers here. Now, they replace certain tracks that are already on here, and they're just different buildings. So you could replace the A with that. So you can have different buildings, and it gives you different options when playing the game. This is really cool. They also have 4 different scenarios on how you can play this game, which I haven't looked into any of these, but I've read them. They sound cool. They also have these little player shields. Now, this is a cool one. These player shields, each player has the same amount of shields with the same values on the back, ranging from 0 to, I believe, 4. Yeah, 0 to 4 there. And what happens during the winter phase, instead of having the king send his men, you will face down, throw one of these shields down, and then reveal it, and that's how many additional armies you have. After you use it, it is discarded from the game. Now, as you see, there are 5 rounds, but 6 shields. Why is that? Because whichever one you save for last, you will get those victory points. So if you can hold on to this 4 for last, then you will gain 4 victory points at the end of the game, or 2, or 3, or 1. That's a really cool expansion. Another one that they have is this one, which, as you see, has different numbers for different shields. Basically, it's just going to change up the rewards on each one of these, and you can play with these, mix it up, change them up. They do have special rules for them. Once someone hits it, you bring out another one, but there's different house rules for this for us. But this is really neat because it changes up all the person's rewards, each individual reward. Next up, you have something called the governor's cards. What you're going to do is shuffle this deck, give out 3 to any player, and they're going to choose one, and it's going to be basically a permanent ability that they have in the game. Maybe get 1 battle strength or something like that, or they're all little cheats in the game. But you pick 3, you get 1, and you have a little secret power in the game. Really good, really neat expansion. The other one is called, I can't remember, but basically it's just event cards is all it is. You flip over one of these event cards and it stays like that through the entire round. There's tons of little event cards here. Other than that, like I said, that's what they have in the second edition of Kingsburg. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, you know what, I played the first edition of this game last year at BGG SpringCon, and I loved it. My little nephews loved it. I said, hey, this is a great game. And then I went home and I forgot about it. And so I was looking online, spending some of my Amazon gift cards I got for Christmas last year. I said, oh yeah, Kingsburg. Let me get this new revised edition. Ooh, I'd forgotten. This game is fantastic. This is plain and simple dice placement at its finest. I mean, just plain and simple. Nothing too advanced, of course, so I would say great gateway game, but the revised edition is so much better because it has all of those little mini expansions that you can use to change it up. Now, a lot of those things like the governor cards, the event cards, the shields, the player shields, see how much additional army you have and then get the victory points in the end, I will always play with those. Always. We haven't played any of the scenarios, and we haven't played with the little additional strips to change things up because we're still trying to get the feel of this game. Like, there's so many strategies in this game. So many strategies. Building different sets, building different buildings, getting different combos. I remember I won by 1 victory point. I was way behind. I was dragging last place. And suddenly, with those catch-up mechanisms, I got into 3rd place, distant 3rd. And then all of a sudden, no one saw me. Out of nowhere, I just started trucking along because I had unlocked an extra die. I was getting products cheaper, and I was producing several products as well. And I mean, my city was just rolling, and I was just trucking through those cities, and it was unbelievable. Like I said, I won by 1, only 1 victory point at the end, but I came back from a huge deficit. And that's when we realized, wow, we were all playing different games based on the strategies we were using on those buildings. I cannot tell you how awesome that is. And we still haven't gotten tired of just a plain board. We haven't flipped that board around at all. We've been using the red side the entire time. But eventually, I do plan to get those little strips in there and change up the game. The other one where you can change the actual, the advisors, the king's advisors, giving you different abilities. We've played with that a little bit too. I do enjoy it, but to be honest, with their base abilities there, the game is fine. Should you get the revised edition or the original? Definitely the revised, because of all the things I mentioned. All those little mini expansions, I think, even though there's 2 I haven't played with, but the strips would be easy. The scenarios I've looked at, but we haven't played because just the base game is so good. So this is well worth your time, gamers. Okay, that's it for now. See you next time. Until then, should I say it? Yes, I will. Game on!